I've been a freelance writer my whole life. I was only hired full-time at BMCC this past January, so I've been basically a freelance writer and an adjunct here for over 15 years. So I've developed my freelance writing career while I was an adjunct. I've had pieces in all the major papers, Daily News, Newsday, Times, Post, and various magazines. But when I was offered the opportunity to work here full-time, it seemed like a dream opportunity, so I couldn't say no. So I'm still a freelance writer, but I'm also full-time here now at BMCC. I like teaching at BMCC because it's got a very diverse mix of students, people from all different parts of the world, all different parts of the United States, and a lot of different backgrounds, and I find that really interesting. It won third place for best column in the contest was called the Better Newspaper Contest. It's a statewide contest sponsored by the New York Press Association, and this was weird. My editor entered my columns. I didn't even know this, so it was like I won this award and I didn't even know I was in the contest, which maybe is good because then you're not nervous, am I going to win? So he took, I think I had 4 or 5 columns last year in the paper that he entered, and I guess it was for the body of work. It wasn't for one specific column. Okay, I think I was given this award because I think my writing really stands out. I think I have a very, very distinctive voice. I think I've always had this voice. I've been developing it for many, many years, and I think I've honed it, I've refined it, and I think I have a distinctive take on things. And I think that came across in my writing, and I think that's why I won. I mean, when you're writing a column, I mean, it's your style that carries the impact. I could write about almost anything, I think, and make it interesting. And I don't mean that to sound, vain or anything, but I write about things that I care about. I write about things I'm passionate about. I'll give you an example of 2 things I wrote about last year. The one thing I wrote about, which is very personal, was about how I decided to start going back to church after having not gone to church for many, many years. And the whole piece was all about why I made this decision and how I decided to find a church that was different than the religion that I had grown up in. And the church was in the village, so of course that tied in with the villager. So it was like a reflective, analytical piece about why I made this decision. And so it talks about me and how I came to this. And the other piece that I thought, and that piece got a lot of attention. The Villager, the paper that I write for, owns 4 papers. So it ran in the Villager, Downtown Express, Chelsea Now, Gay City News. It ran in all their papers because they liked it so much. I think because it had universal truth in it, which is what I think you're going for when you're writing a good personal essay. You want to have a universal truth. You want to have something that people can relate to, that people can say, aha, I get it. I know what you're talking about. Even if they didn't do the same thing you did, there's something universal that they can glom onto. I mean, if you're writing a good column, you have to give your reader something to take away, something that they feel like, I got something out of reading this. It's what we call in the writer world the step back, where you analyze what happened. So it's not just a story about how I joined a church. There's a lot of analysis, there's a lot of reflection in the stuff that I write. So I think that's why people, resonate, and I think that's why I won the award, because there's a lot of reflecting and analyzing. I wrote about, election night in the village when Obama got elected and what was going on, and everybody was jubilant, and I think that was one of the other columns that I particularly liked myself. Well, I thought it was a unique experience that I was writing about. I was sort of a combination of journalism and personal reflection, so I kind of like doing that kind of writing where I'm covering what's going on, but I'm also putting in my own little thoughts, I'm interjecting. And that's basically what I do as a columnist. I write about things that are happening, and I'm interjecting, little tidbits of information and analysis and reflection. It's a mix of sort of reporting and analyzing and personal opinion. Well, I think that the way my writing ability would be best coming into the classroom would be when I teach critical thinking. Because what we're doing in critical thinking is we're trying to learn how to become critical thinkers and how to become more reflective and more analytical. And I think that my training as a writer who writes first-person pieces, I've trained myself to become really analytical and really critical and really reflective, and that's one of the skills that we are trying to teach the students in critical thinking. So I think because that's who I am a really analytical, reflective person, I can bring that to the classroom. And I also have my critical thinking students do various writing exercises that do kind of tie in with things that are going on in their communities, which I think is sort of similar to what I do. I think of myself as both an artist and a craftsperson. I mean, I do think that writing personal essay is an art form. I think writing a column is an art form, but it's also a craft. I mean, you have to know language, you have to have good sentence structure, you have to know how to cut, how to edit. So it's absolutely a craft. I had a high school reunion a few years ago, and someone brought out the high school newspaper, and I was writing editorials for the high school newspaper. This is like a long, long time ago. And it was interesting to see that. I mean, I could recognize my voice, even though I was only like 16 or 17. But what was different was that my thinking was not sophisticated. I was thinking like a teenager. So I guess to some extent what's really evolved is my thinking. So, I mean, obviously at this age, I hope my thinking is a lot stronger than it was when I was in high school. But I did have that little spark of, I could see me in those pieces. I mean, I could see a sentence and I would say, wow, that sounds like me, which I thought was pretty amazing that this was like so long ago. So, I don't know how to end this, but I mean, I do think that some people are definitely attracted to writing, and I am definitely one of those people. So I always had that kind of spark. I always had that interest, but I've become a lot better at it, and I've become a lot better with my thinking process as I've grown and evolved as a writer. So you can always get better, and I'm still growing and trying to be a better writer.